What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. Anyhow, you guys stay tuned, and you guys don't forget to hit up Artem MMA Analysis on YouTube. Because if you don't, you guys can all do me a favor and bend the knee to King Triple C.
What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here, about to talk about the next upcoming UFC fight night, Santos vs Ankalaev. Let's get straight to the first fight. Hopefully you guys have noticed a better quality sound. I've turned the gain down on my microphone, I've turned the microphone up on my software, so it's going to be picking up less background noise, but still be louder, I think, and to you guys, because a lot of people have been complaining about my microphone being too loud. Some people have been complaining about it being too quiet, so hopefully this fixes both problems. Let's get straight into the picks, man. We've got Tafon and Nchukwi versus Azamat and Murzakanov. My pick, man, I'm all over Azamat Murzakanov, man. Comes off Dana White's Contender Series, fights Matthias Scheffel. On a pretty good card, man. Joannis and Brito made his UFC debut already. AJ Fletcher's making his UFC debut on this card as well. Victor Altamirano also already made his UFC debut. I think Joannis and Brito actually lost, but we don't talk about that, man. Azamat Murzakanov knocked out Matthias Scheffel with the boxing in 3 minutes, and I think that we're probably going to see a pretty similar game plan happen here. I don't think that we're going to be seeing Tafon and Nchukwi shoot for takedowns on this one. Azamat Murzakanov does have a Sambo background as well, definitely worth noting, but Tafon and Nchukwi has shot for takedowns before in the past. He does actually shoot for at least 2 takedowns per fight, 57% accuracy, and he does land 1.15 per 15 minutes. So definitely going to be some sort of threat there still. But on the other hand, though, it didn't really take Azamat Murzakanov too many strikes to finish off his opponent, Matthias Scheffel. He's got power on those hands, man. It's definitely worth noting that he's pretty old. I think when Dana White signed him as well, I think he wanted him to fight at 185. He took a few fights over at 265 pounds. They fell out, so now he's making his UFC debut at 205. He's not the biggest guy in the world for the 205 pound division. He is 5'10", with a 6-inch reach disadvantage, but I do think that Azamat is going to be able to overcome this and just use his power to knock Tafon out. He hasn't fought for a while, though. This is the thing. Like, he fought 5 months ago, which is recent, but before that he hadn't fought for a very long time against very good level of opponents over at Brave. I mean, a couple of not so great guys there. Tafon and Nchukwi, on the other hand, though, staying pretty active in the UFC. 5 months ago was his last fight. Also lost to Junior Park 9 months ago. As you can see, he's still staying pretty active since his head kick KO win over Almatavo, so that's pretty good there. But in my opinion, though, Tafon and Nchukwi, I do think that if he's able to use that reach advantage that he's got, he's going to have a very good time in this fight. But I do think Azamat Murzakanov is going to be able to close the distance, and I do think he's going to be able to knock Tafon out, and potentially we could see a bit of a Sambo background being shown here. I know that Azamat Murzakanov actually has a Sambo fight with Ion Cutelaba, where he beat the brakes off Ion Cutelaba. Ion Cutelaba, I think, is ranked like 15 in this division right now, so I'm trusting in the undefeated Azamat Murzakanov to get the job done. I do definitely respect an Nchukwi pick, but I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, though. I do actually have money on Murzakanov to get the job done. Hope he gets the job done. I do think he's probably going to get the job done inside the distance by KO is probably my pick, but I've just bet him straight, and I do think that we're going to see Azamat Murzakanov continue his undefeated streak, and I do think that the winner of this is probably only like one fight away from a fight that's going to get them into the top 15. Would that be pretty fair to say, or would you just boost Azamat Murzakanov as soon as you can because he's 35 years old? And Dana White is probably going to want to... Actually, no, Dana White's probably not going to want to put too much stock on this guy, but I do think that he's got a good ceiling. I think that we're going to want to see this guy in the top 15 sometime soon if he can win a couple of fights in the UFC. I've got Azamat Murzakanov. He's got a great record, and it's not a padded record either. It's not a padded 10-0. He's fought legit guys on that record. I think he's going to get the job done. What's up, guys? We're back into the next fight. We've got Guido Cannetti versus Kris Moutinho. I'm going to pick this fight how I think the UFC makes this fight play out. I genuinely do believe that Kris Moutinho was being set up to win against Guido Cannetti in this one here. Why else would they have held on to Guido? No disrespect to him, but I think he's like 2-6 in the UFC. or like 2-5 in the UFC, so he hasn't got a great record in the UFC. A lot of people get cut for just being like 1-3 or 1-2 in the UFC. So he's and even then he lost twice in the Ultimate Fighter. So he must have done the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 a favour by fighting multiple times. But even then, still didn't really perform. So this guy, I don't know, man. This guy's in the UFC, and I think they're just going to give him Kris Moutinho to give him a win. I think that they want to utilise that stock that Kris Moutinho has earned by losing to Sean O'Malley. He got dominated by Sean O'Malley. I think the strike count was like 230 to 70 in that one there, and Kris Moutinho took about 200 strikes to the head or something like that. So we know that Kris Moutinho is probably not going to get finished by Guido Cannetti. Or we also know that he's got pretty good cardio as well, and he's going to last 3 rounds. On the other hand, though, Guido Cannetti, he's never won a second round in the UFC. I'm pretty sure that still holds to be a fact. So we know that Kris Moutinho is definitely going to lock up the second round if that still holds. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. But I do think Guido Cannetti is going to slow down towards the end of the fight. I do think he's going to probably look good in the first, potentially, because it is Kris Moutinho. No disrespect to him, but he isn't the most UFC level bantamweight there is on the roster for the super stacked division. And I think that Guido Cannetti could find success in the first round, but he's going to slow down, and I think Kris Moutinho is going to win the second and the third, just out-voluming Guido Cannetti on the feet. Maybe even looks for takedowns. I know Kris Moutinho does have submission wins in his career, but even with that being said, I just don't think that this is a fight set up for Kris Moutinho to win. I genuinely do believe that, and that is what I'm picking. I do believe Kris Moutinho has been set up to win this fight here, and Guido Cannetti is just going to get another loss, and I think he's probably going to retire after this fight. I mean, he's 42 years old in the bantamweight division. I personally don't see him making a run to the top 15, so I don't see Kris Moutinho making a run to the top 15 either. Sorry, Chris, but unfortunately that's what I do believe. He's taken a decent amount of time off though, so he can respect that. The UFC's given him an opportunity in the UFC. They've given him a win in the UFC. We go Kris Moutinho to win this one. Decision win is my pick. Could we see a late KO, TKO, maybe second or third round? Potentially. But I'm just going to have to go with Kris Moutinho, and the only real reason why I'm picking Kris Moutinho is I'm just going to know that he's not going to get finished by Guido Cannetti, and I'm going to rely on that durability, and I'm going to rely on that cardio to outlast Guido Cannetti's, which I think is going to slow down in the second round, and Kris Moutinho is going to pick it up in the second and third round, and that's what's going to overtake the fight. I'm going Kris Moutinho 29-28. I wouldn't be betting this fight, in my opinion. I don't think that there's a lot of confidence either side to be had. I think this is a fight you just sit back and watch. I don't think this is the highest level of bantamweights in the UFC at all. And if Kris Moutinho does get this win, I don't really know who we should fight next. Maybe Mana Martinez, but I do think Mana Martinez would definitely put on a very good striking show. I don't know, man. This is you don't want to put him up against the Dinar Bakare, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna go Kris Moutinho. Not a lot of confidence though. How can you be confident? It is Kris Moutinho and it is Guido Cannetti, but Kris Moutinho decision is my pick. Alright, if we move on to the next fight, we've got a fight which I'm still not that confident on, but I do think I'm still going to be siding with Dalcha Lungiambula, champion. He was actually the champion over at EFC Africa, and or maybe it's EFC Worldwide he was the champion of, but I still think they're the same promotion. And this is one thing I'm going to bring up, man. I really do like the level of competition that Dalcha Lungiambula was fighting before he fought in the UFC. Like, if you looked at his record all the way up, he's fighting fights that kind of make sense for him at the time. An Alan Baudot win thrown in there with a 26-second KO. Sean Austin as well. He's been in good guys before he made it to the UFC. He came in, and now he's 2-2. He's fighting Cody Brundage, who was 0-1 in the UFC, 0-1 in Dana White's Contender Series. One thing that I really don't like about Cody Brundage, he may have an amazing wrestling background, but I don't like the level of competition that he's been fighting outside of the UFC. When he came into the UFC, when he came to Dana White's Contender Series, even as 5-0, his last 2 wins were against the same guy who was 13-15 and 13-16. Yeah, that just doesn't really impress me all that much, to be honest, but you do have to admit Cody Brundage does have a very legitimate American wrestling game. Dalcha Lungiambula, though, he's from Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he was a judoka for Congo. I think he was actually was he a national representative for Congo in judo, I think in 2007 to 2009. So he does have a ground game of his own. He can take people down, he can trip Cody Brundage to the ground if he wants to. But it's almost like he doesn't mind the fight being on the feet. And I like Dalcha Lungiambula's chances in this fight, as long as the fight is on the feet for sure. He's got power, man. He's got power on the feet, and I don't think Cody Brundage, at this point, only 28 years old, so still young, still up and coming, and still developing. I just don't think that he's developed the stand-up to hang with Dalcha Lungiambula in this one here. Cody Brundage's path to victory is very, very obvious in my opinion. And that is to wrestle his way to a decision win, or to wrestle his way until at least Dalcha Lungiambula gasses out. Because that's the thing with Dalcha Lungiambula. This guy is built. This guy is built for the middleweight division. I think he was was he a light heavyweight, a heavyweight champion at EFC before the UFC. This guy's got muscle, and this guy is a big boy. And he's fighting Cody Brundage, who I think was also a light heavyweight champion outside of the UFC as well. But it's not against the same level of competition, in my opinion, for sure. Dalcha Lungiambula, not a tall boy, but he does have a reach advantage. He's 5'8" with a 76-inch reach. Cody Brundage, on the other hand, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. I like Dalcha Lungiambula's chances to land on the chin, but it's definitely worth noting, though, Cody Brundage, if he can get his wrestling off early, if he can get his wrestling off in that first round, he could gas out Dalcha Lungiambula, because he does slow down in the second and third round. He's carrying around a lot of muscle, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be able to carry that cardio for all 3 rounds at a very steady pace. So if Cody Brundage is able to take down Dalcha Lungiambula at the start of the first round and control him for the first round, I think he's going to gas out Dalcha and potentially work his way to a win. But one thing I like about Dalcha is his takedown defense, man. His takedown defense is sitting at 75% in the UFC. He also does shoot for takedowns himself. Two takedowns per 15 minutes with a 46% accuracy. On the other hand, Cody Brundage is shooting for takedowns. He was shooting for a lot of takedowns against Maximov. Not too sure about the Knight fight, the William Knight fight, but he's definitely shooting for a lot of takedowns against Maximov, but he wasn't really landing them with only 25% accuracy across the Dana White's Contender Series fight and his UFC debut on short notice against Nick Maximov, might I add. But I'm going to trust Dalcha Lungiambula to keep the first round on the feet. I think he's going to outstrike Cody Brundage, and I think over time maybe Dalcha could potentially be looking to take the fight to the ground, but I do think as long as the fight is on the feet, Dalcha's going to find the success. He's got the KO power. I'm picking Lungiambula by KO or by decision. Brundage, though, definitely has a good spot in this fight to win the decision. I know Cody from Blood Money MMA Bets has a lot of confidence in Dalcha Lungiambula, but unfortunately I just can't share the same level of confidence as he does. I'm going to go Dalcha Lungiambula, but with not as much confidence. I'm going to pick him to win by KO or decision. This next fight I'm going to be talking about is women's MMA, but a women's MMA fight I do have confidence in, and that is Miranda Maverick. I really do like Miranda Maverick, man. She may be 2-2 in the UFC, but I swear she's still a prospect to look out for. She's not 25 years old yet, and I do think she's going to get the job done inside this fight here. Sabina Mazo, on the other hand, could potentially give her some problems on the feet. Sabina Mazo does have very good stand-up, in my opinion, even though... Yeah, she's still got good stand-up, even though she was out kickboxed by Maria Agapova, even though she was dropped by Maria Agapova. She did get beaten by Alexis Davis as well, held on the ground in that fight. She's got an underrated amount of UFC experience. She's 3-3, she's got 6 fights in the UFC. Win over Shayna Dobson, JJ Aldrich, and Justine Kish. But apart from that, the losses, Alexis Davis and Maria Agapova, and Marina Moroz as well, who is what I'm looking at the moment. But if you look at Miranda Maverick, on the other hand, the win over Liana Jojua, first round doctor's stoppage. Gillian Robertson, very good win to have on your record, considering Gillian Robertson is pretty legit on the ground, and she... I think she won that fight by ground control, so that was very impressive in my opinion on that one there. Macy Barber split decision loss in a fight that I thought that she won. Erin Blanchfield in a decision loss, which she was just controlled by a very legitimate up-and-coming black belt in Erin Blanchfield. I do think Miranda Maverick has got Sabina Mazo's number in this fight here. I've got a lot of confidence in Miranda Maverick here, but it's women's MMA. So if I'm wrong... don't attack me too much, because I'm usually pretty wrong with these women's MMA fights, unfortunately. But there's a lot of confidence on Maverick, far out. There's an unreal amount of confidence in Maverick on the Tapology side. But I respect it. I do think Miranda Maverick's going to win the fight. Minus 270 favourite, though I do think that line is probably a little bit too wide for me to play for sure. But I think it's relatively justified here. I do think Miranda Maverick gets the job done. She's definitely a prospect to keep your eye on. She may not have the prettiest record in the world, but I do think she got robbed badly in that Macy Barber fight. Macy Barber was making a run in top 15 at one point. So Miranda Maverick, we know that she is potentially top 15 level already, and she's not even 25 years old yet. I'm going to go Miranda Maverick in this one. Alright, let's get into the next one. We're going to be talking about a fight which I don't have that much confidence in. I'm not going to lie to you guys. We've got Damon Jackson and Kamuela Kirk fighting each other. Damon Jackson coming off a fight against Charles Rosa, where Charles Rosa didn't really look amazing in that fight. Damon Jackson got about 10 minutes of control time, won the fight with a 10-8 round in there as well, even though he was bleeding like nothing else really. And Kamuela Kirk, on the other hand, coming off a few wins, a split decision loss to Bruno Souza, who's in the UFC right now, and a lot of people do think that he beat Bruno Souza in that one. He beat a guy in LFA by KO, made Daniel Swain quit on the stool in between rounds, and then he beat Makwan Amirkhani. That's a pretty important fight to note here, because Makwan Amirkhani is also a grappler, and he's also a guy that wants to get you to the ground. And Makwan Amirkhani did find success in this fight against Kamuela Kirk. He did manage to get Kamuela Kirk to the ground and stay on the top for a little bit, but Kamuela Kirk does work from the bottom. He's got 6 submission wins as well to his own name. He's never been submitted in his whole career. Damon Jackson, on the other hand, though, I do believe he's got like 17 submission wins or something, or 14 submission wins, I think it is, in his whole career. Something very impressive like that. If we look at Kamuela Kirk, just kind of as what I was saying, his last 5 in, he won the first round against Billy Quarantillo in that Contender Series fight, which is quite impressive. That split decision, you could definitely give it to Kirk if you watch the fight. It's a pretty controversial decision, in my opinion, anyway. But Damon Jackson, let's talk about his career for a second. This is not his first run in the UFC. He came in to the UFC in 2014, undefeated after a win over an 18-11 guy. As 9-0, he lost to Yancy Medeiros, and then he no contest with Roni Jason, draw with Levan Makashvili, and after that, the UFC probably decided they didn't really want to hold on to him anymore, so he had to work his way back up. He got a few good wins over in the regional scene, a couple of really good wins on the UFC as well, to be honest, and he did fight in PFL one time against an undefeated Mavlid Kabuliev, got knocked out in 10 seconds. Not the greatest look, unfortunately, for him. And then also got knocked out by Ilya Topuria. So 3 of his 4 losses, I believe, are knockouts, which isn't the greatest look, really. Kamuela Kirk could definitely exploit that early on. And I think that the start of this fight is really going to dictate how the fight is going to play out. I think Damon Jackson, if he's able to get Kamuela Kirk to the ground early, just control him and uses grappling on top, potentially be looking for submissions on top, he's going to find success. I think if Kamuela Kirk is able to keep the fight on the feet, maybe utilize his own wrestling in there as well, maybe get some control time towards the end of the round, just to really make sure that he's banging on the nails of a 10-9 round for him. If he's able to keep the fight on the feet, dictate the pace, get a takedown here and there maybe, that's Kamuela Kirk's, I think, goal to win. But I think Damon Jackson, if he's able to get these takedowns early, if he's able to get these takedowns in the first minute of each round, I think he's going to be able to win these rounds quite well with a bit of top control, with a bit of ground and pounds, submissions attempts as well. We do know that he's got a good submission game. Kamuela Kirk, though, he does work from the bottom. He's going to be elbowing Damon Jackson from the bottom. He's going to be looking for submission attempts of his own. But I do think Damon Jackson, man, I'm picking Damon Jackson with not a lot of confidence, though. I'm going to say that right now. But I'm going to go with Damon Jackson. I'm going to go with the underdog here. I think that the Charles Rosa win is probably going to give him... I'm hoping that it's going to give him confidence in his grappling to be looking for takedowns early on in the round. So I'm going to be going with Damon Jackson. To my surprise, man, a lot of people in Tapology are picking Jackson as well. I was kind of hoping that I'd be on a little bit of an island here with the underdog pick. Unfortunately, I'm not. Still going to go with Damon Jackson. He was my original pick, and I'm still going to stick with him here. But it would, if Kamuela Kirk wins this fight, it's definitely going to tell me a lot about Kamuela Kirk, and I'm definitely probably not going to sleep on him going forward. But I do believe Damon Jackson is probably just going to be able to come out here with a smarter game plan and get the job done. Alright, man, we've got to talk about this next fight. We've got Trevin Jones versus Javid Basharat, and oh man, I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick the underdog. I'm picking Trevin Jones. At first I was pretty big on Javid Basharat, because you guys know I do love the Dana White's Contender Series, guys. You guys do know that I do love Dana White's Contender Series, and I did pick him to beat Ankalaev 16-0. Very padded 16-0. I looked more into the records of the guys that he's been fighting. Ridiculously padded 16-0. This guy was like 6-0 and he lost to a debuting guy. Ridiculously padded 11-1. All of those wins were pretty much the losing records. Beat a 2-2 guy when he was definitely set up to win. I don't really know about that fight. And then 2-39. Like, what is going on, man? I'm sorry, Javid. I'm sorry, man. I was really big on this guy. I was really big on him, but now I'm just looking at it and I just can't trust the body of work that he's showing me. He's looked good against that level of competition, but the problem is, man, he just hasn't been looking good. Sorry, he has been looking good, but he hasn't been looking good against competition that I believe is UFC level. Trevin Jones, on the other hand, though, man, he's been looking good, man. In fact, well, he's been looking good until he didn't. He lost to Sadyokub Kakramonov. That was a short notice replacement. Sadyokub come in. Sadyokub looked a lot bigger than Trevin Jones in that fight. One thing that's also worth noting is Javid is probably going to look a bit bigger than Trevin Jones in this fight because he's 5'9" compared to the 5'7" of Trevin. But Trevin's got a little reach advantage which he could maybe utilize here. Trevin Jones, I feel like, is kind of the Vicente Luque of the bantamweight division. He doesn't have a nice record, but the wins and the losses are not bad. Split decision loss to an 11-3 guy. I mean, 5-3 kind of is what it is, really. But the guys that he's kind of beating on the regional scene are just a lot better level. 5-0, 13-10 when he was 4-2. You know, I mean 17-4 when he was 1-0. I mean, like, come on, man. Like, this guy's fighting the better level of competition, in my opinion. He's proven that he can beat good level of competition in the UFC. Timur Valiev, a good win on his record, unfortunately overturned to a no contest from Marijuana. Mario Batista knocked him out in the second round. Sadyokub Kakramonov, I was pretty confident in him going into that fight. Unfortunately, he did let me down on that one. Sadyokub did look pretty good on short notice in that fight. Now he's fighting Javid Basharat, the undefeated up-and-coming guy. And I just cannot get a good enough read on Javid to put a confident pick on Javid Basharat. I'm going to pick the power, I'm going to pick the stand-up, and I'm going to pick the well-roundedness of Trevin Jones. I think he's going to be able to get inside the distance. Javid Basharat is going to be throwing leg kicks all fight long, though, and he will be doing damage with those leg kicks, but I don't think this fight's going to last long, guys. I think Trevin Jones is going to knock him out within 2 rounds, and I've got a decent amount of confidence in that one. I do think that Javid, he just has not proven to me anything. He hasn't proven to me that he's the UFC level. I think the UFC's trying to give him a guy that they think he can beat, but I just don't think Trevin Jones is that guy that they should be giving him, man. They should be giving Javid Basharat an easier option than this. I'm going Trevin Jones. I'm going to Trevin Jones by KO. I'm excited about this pick because I flipped the pick. No disrespect to Javid. He's a good guy. He's a good fighter, I mean, but he's just, his whole record really has been set up to make him look good. Like this 11-1 win that he's got, very padded 11-1. The 16-0 win, even by the UFC, to put him up against his Ankalaev. I'll show you guys what I mean. This is ridiculous, guys. He's got his 2 best wins in his career are just padded records. I mean, he's 14-2, and he does have actually a pretty good win recently. But at the time, man, this guy looked 5-14, 0-1, 0-3, 2-5. Like, he's just not fighting that level of competition. Same as Ankalaev at the time. He was 16-0. I mean, he was fighting relatively good levels of competition, but at the same time, like, all 2-0 guys, all debuting guys, I just can't trust that. I really cannot. I'm going to go Javid Basharat to unfortunately lose this debut. I'm going Trevin Jones. I think he's going to get the job done. I think he's going to get the job done by knockout, man. I'm hyped for this fight, man. I can't believe that I'm picking underdog. I can't believe I'm picking against the undefeated fighter. I know there's a pretty unwritten rule out there that you don't pick against undefeated fighters, but I'm going to do it. I'm picking Trevin Jones, and oh, hope he doesn't make me look really stupid. But I'm going Trevin Jones. I'm going to trust in the power. I'm going to trust in the durability. I'm going to trust that he's going to be able to get the job done. This next fight, I'm going to be talking about a women's fight, a women's flyweight fight, JJ Aldrich versus Gillian Robertson. I broke this fight down very, very quickly in my early picks video. Gillian Robertson, I think she's got like 4 submission wins in the UFC flyweight division. I think she's also got the most, or almost tied for the most finishes in the UFC flyweight division as well. And the most submissions as well. 4 submission wins in the UFC flyweight division. She's got a legit ground game. I don't think anyone told me what belt she's got. Does she have a brown belt? Does she have a black belt? Personally, I don't know, but I do believe it's at least a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She's legit on the ground. JJ Aldrich also is as well. I think she's got a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu herself. But I think Gillian Robertson just is going to display a grappling advantage in this one here. I think we're going to see a submission win for her. She's coming off that win over Priscilla Cachoeira, who unfortunately completely got robbed. Stole the fight. Her opponent, Jin Yong Kim, was the one getting robbed. And unfortunately now she's still going to be in the UFC after putting on some cheeky cheating tactics against her fight, where she was trying to gouge her eyes out when she was going for the rear naked choke. That's messed up, man. Her 2 losses though, Miranda Maverick and Taylor Santos. It was Taylor Santos that laid on Gillian Robertson for 3 rounds and managed to dominate her that way. But she's finishing girls that she should be finishing. I do think she's going to be able to finish JJ Aldrich here. JJ Aldrich getting a little bit older than I thought she was. I didn't realize she was almost 30 years old, but I swear she's been in the UFC for a very, very long time. I know that I saw her fight. I think it might have been her UFC debut when she fought a girl. Yes, this one. No, not this one. In New Zealand, and I can't remember which one it was, but she won the fight by decision. It might have been this one. It was, yes. I watched her fight this one live. She did win the fight by decision, and yeah, she's got pretty good. She's pretty well rounded. She does have good stand up. She does have a good ground game. But I do think we're going to see Gillian Robertson exploit the ground game of JJ Aldrich in this one. And I think Gillian Robertson's going to get the job done by submission. A lot of confidence by the Tapology voters here for Robertson to submit Aldrich, and I think that's very justifiable. I think just Gillian Robertson's going to be able to get the submission as well, and that's my pick. The next fight I'm going to be talking about is going to be a banger. It's going to be a fight that is definitely on the cards to be a potential fight of the night or a potential performance of the night. Either way, you guys know I like Matt Semelsberger. He's got 2 sub 20-second knockouts in the UFC. His most recent one over Martin Sano, where I think he knocked him out in like 15 seconds. Martin Sano, though, did he really deserve to be in the UFC? That's up for debate, but he was really just there because he's one of Nick Diaz's boys. Matt Semelsberger finished him off very, very quickly and looks very good doing it, to be honest. He's got a knockout win over Jason Witt as well. I believe that's his other one under 20 seconds, and he beat Carlton Minus in his UFC debut, and lost to Chaos Williams in a pretty competitive fight. Chaos Williams did out-volume him on the feet though, but that was still a pretty good fight as well. Pretty entertaining fight either way. Chaos Williams throwing more, landing more over the course of 3 rounds. And AJ Fletcher, on the other hand, a guy that, in my brutal opinion, man, he's been fighting guys that just don't have the greatest level of competition on his way up to Dana White's Contender Series, where he did knock out a guy that's 10-2 in the first round with a flying knee. Very, very impressive though. Definitely worth noting that. AJ Fletcher also has a ground game as well. He's got a brutal leg kick. If he wants to take the fight to the ground, he probably will, but I don't think that he's going to. I think Matt Semelsberger and AJ Fletcher are both going to stand on the feet, and they're both going to throw. Matt Semelsberger going to be a little bit bigger in the cage though. AJ Fletcher is pretty small, but he's able to utilize his size pretty well. He's 5'10" with a 67-inch reach, fighting a guy that's 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. Matt Semelsberger, man, that reach I think is actually going to be quite important when it comes down to this fight, because I do think Matt Semelsberger does have that level of MMA striking to keep the fight on the feet and to utilize that range advantage and to land a knockout blow on AJ Fletcher. AJ Fletcher in this fight, in my opinion, is going to be throwing more volume. Matt Semelsberger is not necessarily a guy that is throwing a lot of volume, but he is making reads on his opponent so he can land his power shots, and that's exactly what he did against Martin Sano. I think that's probably what he's going to do against AJ Fletcher, the man that is going to be throwing the more volume against the man that's going to be throwing the more power shots. Not that AJ Fletcher isn't powerful, I'm just going to be saying that Matt Semelsberger is more looking to land power shots rather than volume in this fight. I think he's going to find the chin. I think he's going to knock out AJ Fletcher. Let's look at the picks. Semelsberger KO is a very common pick. I think Semelsberger's definitely got the opportunity to make a name for himself off of this fight, being an undefeated guy, albeit a guy coming into the UFC on his debut. I think that this is definitely a good opportunity for Semelsberger to get a little bit of recognition in the UFC amongst the fans, because he deserves it, man. This guy knocks out people cold. This guy knocks out people very quickly as well. Matt Semelsberger KO. First or second round, in my opinion. Matt Semelsberger is going to figure him out and knock out AJ Fletcher. And that's it. That's genuinely my pick. I'm hyped for this one, man. I'm very excited. I like Matt Semelsberger. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table here. And it's going to be a very exciting fight, for as long as it lasts anyway. This next fight, I've got an opinion on. I'm going to share it right now. Bruno Silva versus Alex Bahia. This is the UFC trying to launch Alex Bahia to a title shot with Israel Adesanya, while Israel Adesanya is the champion, as soon as they possibly can. Alex Bahia versus Israel Adesanya is a massive money fight that the UFC really, really wants, and this is why they're putting Alex Bahia up against these guys like Bruno Silva. A guy like Bruno Silva, a win for Alex Bahia, this would give him a shot at the top 15 in my opinion. This is how badly the UFC wants this guy in the top 15. And I'm kind of for it, man. I really do want to see Alex Bahia and Israel Adesanya fight again in MMA. I think it would be very, very interesting. It would be a fight which I'll be very excited to see, and it's a fight I really do want to see. I think it would be great. But let's talk about this fight. Bruno Silva, he's 22-6. When I was looking at this fight, man, as soon as it was made, I was definitely on this side of Alex Bahia, but I do like the MMA experience of Bruno Silva. I looked into his record a little bit deeper. Not really that deeply, but a little bit deeper. 19 wins by KO. Those 6 losses, 5 of them are by submission. None of his wins are by submission. Bruno Silva, I don't think, is going to be looking to take this fight to the ground. Alex Bahia, as we all know, is going to be wanting to keep the fight on the feet. Very, very extensive kickboxing record, 34-7, but you do have to throw in 2 wins over Israel Adesanya in that record as well. And Israel Adesanya, I think, retired from kickboxing with a 75-5 record in kickboxing. So yeah, world champion over at Glory Kickboxing, coming over to the UFC, trying to make his name for himself in MMA, and he's done well to do that so far. He knocked out his first opponent, Andreas Michailidis, in the second round, but Andreas was trying to take him to the ground. He was trying to grapple him. Alex Bahia showed surprisingly good takedown defense. He kind of showed that he did actually know what he was doing. It was kind of surprising in my opinion. He showed that he was able to defend takedowns against a guy like Andreas, kept the fight on the feet, made a read, knocked him out in the second round. Bruno Silva, on the other hand, knocked out Jordan Bright, knocked out Andrew Sanchez, knocked out Wellington Turman, knocked out Artem Frolov, who was undefeated at the time, knocked out Alexander Shlemenko. Alexander Shlemenko, a pretty difficult guy to finish, and a guy that was meant to headline an Eagle FC card for the Eagle FC title coming up, but unfortunately that fight got cancelled. But my pick is Alex Bahia. I do think Alex Bahia is going to win this fight, and I do think he's probably going to chin Bruno Silva. I do think Jordan Wright actually did hurt Bruno Silva on the feet, which is pretty concerning because you guys know I'm not too high on Jordan Wright. For me anyway, I do think that his level of competition is not that great. But Alex Bahia, on the other hand, man, level of competition in MMA, not incredible. But actually 6-0 is pretty good, but you've got to understand like where I'm coming from, man. He's only 4-1 in the MMA, but he's looking good. He's looked good against Andreas Michailidis. If he can knock out Bruno Silva, they're going to give him a top 15 opponent. If he wins against that top 15 opponent, they're probably going to give him like a highly ranked opponent that's a striker that's going to keep it on the feet. If he wins that, we've got a title shot for Alex Bahia. We've got Alex Bahia versus Israel Adesanya 3, but in MMA. This is going to be what the UFC wants. Is that a reality? Potentially. Alex Bahia is my pick to win the fight. I think he's going to get the job done. He's going to get the job done on the feet. But would Bruno Silva shock me personally if he wins by knockout? Not really, man, because Bruno Silva is a very legitimate guy as well. 2 older guys just outside of the top 15 looking into getting into the top 15. I like Bruno Silva, but I also like Alex Bahia. I'm going to be picking Alex Bahia to win this fight here. Almost 35 years old. Bruno Silva almost 33. 2 older middleweight prospects. They're going to fight each other. I'm looking forward to it. I think Alex Bahia is going to knock him out. Alright, this next fight, man, I'm really torn on the pick because I don't know if I pick with the guy that has a very good chance of winning in Drew Dober, or do I jump on the hype train again? Do I pick Terrence McKinney again? on short notice as well. I think I'm going to do it, man. I'm sorry. I feel like this is more of a hype train pick. This is a pick with my heart more than my head. I do like Drew Dober. He put on a great performance against Brad Riddell. He put on he got beaten by Islam Makhachev, but he made it to the third round. He knocked out Alex Hernandez. He knocked out Nasrat Kakparas. He knocked out Paulo Reyes. I mean, this guy knocks people out. He's got good stand-up. I think he hurt Brad Riddell on the feet as well, but Brad Riddell just was able to do more damage. Almost finished him towards the end. He's got KO power. He's got KO power in that first round. But who else also has KO power in that first round? Terrence McKinney. Man, I can't wait for this fight. This is a crazy fight to be having on short notice. Terrence McKinney took this fight on a little bit over a week's notice, I think, after beating Farizziam on the ground. K1 kickboxer. Knocked out Matt Frivola in what, like 7 seconds? Prior to that, he was knocking guys out in the first round on the regional scene. Terrence McKinney is a hype train, and I'm here for it, and I cannot wait to see this fight. Okay, let's get into like a more sensitive breakdown of this fight. I think Drew Dober definitely is going to want to keep the fight on the feet. He's got some insane knockout power on the feet. He's also got great just stand up in general. He did have good stand up against Brad Riddell, but Brad Riddell was getting the better of him on the feet. But as you guys know how good Brad Riddell is, you look at that Brad Riddell versus Rafael Fiziev fight. That's an amazing fight between two very high level kickboxers. 1-1 into the third, but I do think that Rafael Fiziev was starting to pick up, was starting to win the fight. Yeah, Brad Riddell, I think he's still in the top 15 as well. Might not be anymore, but he was, I think. Islam Makhachev, you guys know how good Islam Makhachev is. Alexander Hernandez, guy in the top, not in the top 15, but looking in. Nasrat Hakparas as well, same sort of situation, losing streak at the moment, but he's still outside of the top 15, looking in. Paulo Reyes, I don't think anyone talks about him anymore. But Terrence McKinney on the other hand, man, Freddie Siam, Matt Frivola, as I said. Drew Dober's got good stand-up. He's going to want to keep the fight on the feet, but I think if Terrence McKinney plays this smart, and I think he might, he's going to wrestle Drew Dober and then submit Drew Dober as well. Terrence McKinney, you guys may not know, he's got legitimate wrestling background. Michael Chiesa was his wrestling coach in high school. This guy's been wrestling since high school. He's got a wrestling background. He showed great scrambles. He showed great ability on the ground for as long as it lasted against Farizziam. I'm going to trust in that. I'm going Terrence McKinney. I know it's more of a hype train pick. I know it's more of a pick with my heart than my head. But I'm going to go with McKinney. I just really do think that we're going to see something special out of this guy. I do think this guy is something special to look forward to. He's only 27 years old. Drew Dober getting up there in age at 33 at lightweight. What a fight. This is a great fight. This fight card is so good. I just realized how good this fight night card is. We're going Terrence McKinney. Alright, let's go. Another fight that I was not too confident on at the start, but I've done a bit of research on it, and I'm pretty sure that Khalil Rountree is going to get the win in this one, so that's my pick for the fight. Khalil Rountree, he's fought in the UFC since The Ultimate Fighter, where he was a finalist. Unfortunately, he didn't win. He's been in the UFC for quite a while. He's an older guy. Well, he's not really that old. He's only 32, but he's still been around in the UFC for a while, but he doesn't fight all that often. He did take a bit of a layoff in between his last 3 fights, pretty much, I guess you could say. But in those UFC fights that he's ever fought, man, this guy has not shot for a single takedown. Or the fact that every takedown that he shot for has always been stuffed, but I would say it's more likely that this guy's never shot for a takedown in the UFC. 50% takedown defense, though, which is a little bit concerning, but he's fighting a guy in Carl Robertson who's a little bit too big for middleweight. He's probably a little bit too small for light heavyweight. I do think Khalil Rountree is going to be able to defend the takedowns from Carl Robertson if he even shoots for them. So Carl Robertson's going to be stuck on the feet with Khalil Rountree, and I do think that Khalil Rountree is going to be possessing the power to hurt Carl Robertson and to outland Carl Robertson on the feet as well. I think this is Khalil Rountree's fight to win. I think this is Khalil Rountree's fight to keep on the feet, which he will, in my opinion. And I think he might end up finding the chin of Carl Robertson just by being aggressive and throwing his power shots in there. Or we're going to see Khalil Rountree just ride out a decision on the feet just by outstriking Carl Robertson. But I think we're going to see a Rountree victory inside the distance by KO. He does have that knockout power at 205 pounds. Carl Robertson moving up a division. I do think he's going to be a little bit too small for Khalil on this one here. Khalil is a big boy, man. He's very, very built. Especially his upper body is very strong. I think he's going to get the job done. I do think we might see a decision or a knockout for Khalil Rountree in this one here. Very short breakdown for me, but that's just because it kind of is how I see the fight. Khalil Roundtree's not going to be looking to take this fight to the ground. Carl Robertson might, but I don't think Khalil Roundtree's going to be able to be taken to the ground from Carl. Carl Robertson does have decent submissions, definitely worth noting that he does have some good submission wins in his career, but I think Khalil Roundtree's gonna have his number on the feet, and he's gonna get the job done on the feet. So that's my pick. That's why the the breakdown's so short. Sorry about that, guys. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to be honest with you on this one. I'm picking Sadiq Yusuff. I think when I was first talking about this fight last night or yesterday or whenever it was when I uploaded the video, I think I was just getting a little bit too excited for Alex Caceres' win streak, man. It's great for him. He was 14-12 at one point. Now he's making a run at 19-12, making a run at the top 15. But the problem is you just can't get really too hyped up about them, though. It sucks. You can't get too hyped out about these wins. Steven Peterson, Chase Hooper, Austin Springer, Kevin Kroom. Good wins, but they're not like great. Like, oh my god, this guy needs to be in the top 15 wins. But Sungwoo Choi, though, that's definitely a good game-changing win on his record there. He came in as a pretty big underdog, I think, and he got hurt in that fight, and he rallied back and got a submission win in the second round. On the other hand, though, Sadiq Yusuff, this guy wants the fight to be on the feet. Alex Caceres has got a pretty good ground game. He's also alright on the feet, but he's not incredible on the feet. He did have some exchanges where Chase Hooper was landing some strikes on him, which is pretty concerning. But Alex Caceres, though, if you look at the highlights of his career, split decision, a loss to Yair Rodriguez. I think he's been in there with a win over Sergio Pettis as well. Yes, he does. Took that first loss, gave Sergio Pettis his first loss. He's been in there with Uriah Faber. This guy's been in there with some great guys, Cole Miller as well. Martin Bravo, I guess you could even talk about split decision win. Kron Gracie, I don't even think he fights anymore. Didn't he retire like 5-1? Yeah, he did. He lost once and decided that it wasn't him, but I guess it kind of is what it is. Guess not for everyone. Alex Caceres versus Sadiq Yusuff. Sadiq Yusuff wants the fight on the feet. This guy is shot for one takedown, I think, in the UFC, and that was up against Arnold Allen. And I don't even know if he really meant to. Went 0 for 1 on takedowns against Arnold Allen in that fight. In this fight, it seems close. But what really happened was Arnold Allen dropped him in the first round. Sadiq Yusuff definitely won the third round, and it come down to that second round. But you got to count in the control time for Arnold Allen, the grappling for Arnold Allen in that one there. Still relatively a close fight, still relatively competitive fight with Arnold Allen, who is a top 10 opponent at the moment. When it comes down to it, as I said, no takedowns for Sadiq Yusuff whatsoever. He's on the left side here, 68% takedown defense. On the other hand, for the Bruce Leroy side, he doesn't really shoot for all the takedowns either. He is shooting for around 1 takedown per 15 minutes, but he's only landing 0.5 with a 78% accuracy with a 64% defense himself. This fight's probably going to take place on the feet, and on the feet is where Sadiq Yusuff wants it. Sadiq Yusuff is going to be controlling the cage in the middle. He's going to be pushing Alex Caceres back. Alex Caceres is going to be throwing a lot of volume, as he kind of does. But I think Sadiq Yusuff is going to be looking to land his power shots. He's got a win over Andre Fili on the feet. He knocked out Gabriel Benitez, who's pretty good. Suman Mokhtarian took the O off him, knocked him out as well. He's also got a win over Mike Brown. I think his name is, far out, man, I'm a bit stupid. Mike Davis, sorry. Mike Davis is pretty good too. He just does not fight often enough. I think he took the first loss, gave Mike Davis his first loss as well, but this is the same guy that beat Mason Jones. He just does not fight often enough at all, man. This guy, it's the same thing with Sadiq Yusuff as well. This guy doesn't fight often enough either. He went on a run a few years ago where he was really active, and now recently he just hasn't been fighting as often. Hopefully with a win over Alex Caceres, we can see him fight sometime soon enough again. I'm going Sadiq Yusuff. He's going to keep the fight on the feet, in my opinion. We're going to see Sadiq Yusuff just outstrike Alex Caceres for 3 rounds, I think, unless he does find a power shot to knock down or knock out Alex Caceres. Sungwoo Choi was able to hurt Alex Caceres pretty badly on the feet. I think Sadiq Yusuff is definitely capable of doing that himself. But I'm just going to go with Sadiq Yusuff by a decision. Decision or KO is a pretty common pick here. I do think I was just a little bit too excited by Alex Caceres' win streak, that I was kind of blinded by the fact that it's not really the best matchup for Alex Caceres to get into the top 15. But I love the fact that Alex Caceres went on a run. I still think he's got it in him to be a top 15 fighter. I just don't think that this is the fight that's going to get him in there. So I'm going Sadiq Yusuff by decision or not. Alright, the co-main event of the evening, Marlon Moraes versus Yadong Song. A lot of people very, very heavy on the Song Yadong side, and only 24-year-old prospect out of China. We've got another one that's only 22 years old called Zhu Rong, but he just misses weight and unfortunately is 1-2 in the UFC at the moment. Yadong Song making a run in the top 15 right now. Knocked out Julio Arce, split decision win over Casey Kenny, which I thought he won pretty clearly. Lost to Kyler Phillips on Kyler Phillips' best night. Beat Chito Vera, who's a contender right now. Hopefully we see a Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley rematch. Draw with Cody Staman, I also think he's in the top 15 right now. Marlon Moraes though, man, it's sad to see, but this is a big fall from grace. Marlon Moraes has power in the hands. He's also got power in the kicks as well. He probably could knock out Yadong Song if he has a good night. I'm not going to count him out in that side there, but this guy went on a streak. A split decision win over John Dodson, knocked out Aljamain Sterling with a knee. Ironic, I know. Knocked out Jenny Rivera in the first round, knocked out Rafael Assunção in the first round. Lost to Henry Cejudo in a title shot. Split decision win over Jose Aldo. Controversial. This is where it goes downhill, unfortunately, though. We're lucky for poor Marlon Moraes we didn't see the Piotr Jan fight. Corey Sandhagen, Will kicked him in the head and knocked him out. He got knocked out by Rob Font. He got ground and pounded by Merab Vashvili after hurting Merab on the feet and having a moment where he could have potentially won the fight. But he just didn't, and it sucks. It sucks for Marlon Moraes because he's been close to winning these fights. He's hurting these guys on the feet, but just hasn't been able to make it happen. I think Song Yadong is just an overall better striker than Marlon Moraes. And I do think Song Yadong is going to be able to beat Marlon Moraes at this point in his career. I'm sorry, Marlon, but if he loses this fight, do I think it's end of career? Definitely not. I don't know if it will be... I don't think it's going to be a good look, and I don't know if the UFC will keep him in the top 15, or if the UFC will keep him at all. I'm pretty sure he could probably make a pretty good run over at PFL. That's so disrespectful, I'm sorry. But Marlon Moraes, man, former title challenger. Really bad fall from grace. I know these are two top contenders, but he just hasn't looked great. He's been getting knocked out in the first and second round. Song Yadong, on the other hand, though, getting a few good wins. He's come up as a 24-year-old in the UFC, making a run in the top 15. Very, very good striking on the feet. Very young guy as well. This guy could definitely make it pretty far in the UFC, in my opinion, especially considering he's so young. Made his debut in 2017, and I think he was like he must have been 19 years old. And that debut, he wasn't even 20 years old when he made that debut. That is absolutely insane. Yeah, man, I respect Song Yadong. I think he's got it in him to beat Marlon Moraes. He's gone on a great run in the UFC. I think he's like 7-1 in the UFC. Let's go, Song Yadong. Let's make it happen. I do think he's got a very good chance at making a run up the top 15 rankings with the right matchups behind him. He fights out a Team Alpha Male as well, Uriah Faber's gym. I don't know if Cody Garbrandt is still there, but Cody Garbrandt was there at one point. Who else is there? There's a lot of good fighters at Team Alpha Male anyway. Quite a few female fighters fighting out of Team Alpha Male. Yan Jiaonan is fighting out of Team Alpha Male. You got Joey Benavidez. Who else we forgot here? Helian Paival, Andre Philly, Chad Mendes, BKFC right now, Josh Emmett. Yeah, a lot of great guys that he's fighting with right now. So that's really exciting. Tyler Diamond as well, pretty respectable opponent on the regional scene. But yeah, Song Yadong by KO, Song Yadong by decision. I think if he plays it patient, he could win a decision on the feet. I think if he tries to wing out a lot of KO blows and get a highlight KO win on his record over Marlon Moraes, he's risking getting caught himself, in my opinion. But he could get that KO as well. I'm going to go with Song Yadong to win the fight on the feet. I think he's just a little bit better of a striker at this point of Marlon Moraes' career, and I do think he's going to either get a KO or win a decision in this fight here. And if we get to the main event of the evening, we've got Thiago Santos versus Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev minus 450 on Tapology, but I'm telling you guys, in New Zealand over here, the bookie that we have, TAB, has Magomed Ankalaev as more than a minus 500 favourite. I think that's crazy, but it's definitely worth noting. Someone in, I think it was Johnny K Picks' comment section was talking to me. This guy, Marek Graf, he had a few good points, because I was commenting on Johnny K Picks' account, and he said that's a bit wide, but after knee surgeries, lackluster performances, and having reached 38 years of age. Doesn't seem mobilizing the power that he once used to deliver. Still got power, but it's more stationary. Doesn't see Ankalaev getting caught, at the very least Ankalaev by decision. And I agree, there's actually a really great way to break down this fight. Thiago Santos has not looked the same since those knee surgeries. And now that he's 38 as well, he's not really moving around like he used to. He's not really able to deliver the power that he used to. I mean, when I'm saying that he can't deliver that power, he was hitting Johnny Walker with some really good shots. I'm not going to say that they were Thiago Santos' best shots, but there were some good shots. And Johnny Walker didn't get KO'd. And Jamal Hill, the younger up-and-coming guy, knocked out Johnny Walker hilariously. I'm sorry, it's just funny watching Johnny Walker kind of fall back. It's really sad, but it's also pretty funny at the same time. Thiago Santos though, split decision, lost to John Jones. After that, lost to Glover Teixeira, current champion of the light heavyweight division actually. And then Alexander Rakic, future champion. A lot of people are saying cannot wait for Rakic versus Prohaska if that ever happens. But Magomed Ankalaev, this guy is streaking right now. I think his one loss is to a pretty decent guy. Let me have a look here. Could be mistaken though, but he's got 2 wins over Ion Cutelaba. The first one was an early stoppage, or Ion Cutelaba thought it was, so they ran it back, and he knocked him out in the first round a second time anyway. Decision win over Nikita Krylov. Volkan Ozdemir win there too. I think he actually knocked down Volkan Ozdemir. Paul Craig, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think maybe we could see a Paul Craig Magomed Ankalaev rematch sometime in the future. But I'm gonna go Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight. I just think that at this point of Thiago Santos' career, I think Magomed Ankalaev is just going to be able to keep the fight on the feet. He probably wants it. If he wants to, he probably could do some wrestling as well. But yeah, I think he's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet, avoid Thiago Santos' best shots, be a little bit faster, be a little bit flashier on the feet. I mean, he out kickboxed Volkan Ozdemir, who's a pretty good kickboxer himself. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Magomed Ankalaev to beat Thiago Santos here. Do I agree with him being like a minus 450, minus 500 favourite? Not really, to be honest, but I wouldn't be too surprised if he does come out and look like a minus 500 favourite and prove me wrong. But I do think the odds are a little bit wide. I do think that the Tapology voters are disrespecting poor Santos in this one then. But yeah, I can't really disagree. I'm going to go Ankalaev by decision or KO. I've seen some people pick the submission, but Ankalaev has 1 submission win in his career. I think Ankalaev is more likely a win by a decision or KO than any other prop at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to go Ankalaev. I think he's going to get the job done. It's going to be a good fight as well. I do think that Thiago Santos has been disrespected on this line, but I guess it kind of is what it is.